All right, so let's get started. So I already told you I did the basic outline on there. So what I'm gonna do, this is gonna sound rattling. What I used is just a regular, it's a magic marker, it's water, so I can wash it off. I didn't think of the name. I also had taken a tape measure and I measured to get the distance. Now my bow looks a little bit off because the center is over here where this is. So I wanted to make sure it was in center. The whole background is going to be just like kind of a red background in the long run, like as if it was a big red sweater or something on it. I do have my other one here if I want to use it as a reference, but I usually go to the left of me. I have extra painting tape. So I don't know where I'm going to stick this one. I'll just stick it over here on the banister. All right, so let's figure out what I want to do. I think the first thing I want to do is paint the face. And this is just going to be a generic part. It's not going to meaning very simple. Just color it in what I want colored in to be the face as compared to the ears. Now, I know it's hard for you to see, and that's why let me pull this picture back over here so you can see it better. So I have the cheeks here. Hopefully that's in frame. Yep. I have the cheeks here and the ears are a little bit. So in here, this is where I have the ear coming down. So what I have to do is make the cheek, and it's just rounded. Same on this side because this is like his little cheekbones coming up. And that's all I needed to do. Now, if I don't like it, this is why I have baby wipes. I don't like this one. It looks too straight. I could take the baby wipe. I take the paper towel after. You could use a wet paper towel too. And I'm just going to draw that off. I just wanted it a little bit more rounded there. His ear comes out kind of funny like. All right. So let's get going. So we're going to use the body. I've already mapped out what I wanted for the head color and everything. So that I had all my colors and hopefully have enough of them. Because you know you always hate to go buy colors if you don't have to. And as it starts coming together, you'll start seeing, you know, where I'm going with this. Now that I think about it, what do I do with my marker? I'm going to outline up here a little bit for his, what would be like his eyebrows, so to speak. And it doesn't have to be perfect right now because it's just giving me some sort of a guideline. Just so that I know what I have to paint as far as the antlers go. This is that. It's, you know, it's funny because it's not really a bow in his head. In the movie, it's kind of like a knotted piece of rope. But in some of the pictures that I've seen, it has a little bow. So we're going to do a combination of it. I think I'm going to paint it black anyway, but there's little tufts of hair coming up in there. Okay, so let's get painting. We're going to start with his head. Actually, let's start with his antlers. I try to do the light colors first, and then I can always come back with the dark. Now the color I'm using here is a Martha Stewart color. I'm getting paint all over my fingers. And it's called Satin, S-A-T-I-N. And you can use whatever colors you want. You know, as far as brand goes, I should say. I'm just hoping my dogs don't start barking. Because I'm in their territory. And I decide which brush I want. Now for me, I don't go buy paint by number or anything like that. I couldn't even tell you because most of my brushes, there's so much paint on them that you can't tell if it's a 1/4 inch or whatever. But this is about a 1/2 inch, you know, type brush. And I should have used my 1/4 angle brush. And I should put my glasses on. Excuse me. And I'm just going to go around and just start painting. So this is when I get quiet sometimes. Let me switch paintbrushes. Where's my angle brush? This is an angle brush. As you can see, it's angled. I always wet my brushes a little bit before I use them. With the angle brush, what's kind of neat about it is when you're going around the corners or around a circle, I could just take it and I kind of just fan it out and let it go. Now, needless to say, I'm going to have to do more than one coat on this. Because I am working on a mirror glass. I am using acrylic paints because at the end, when I don't want this up here anymore, I can just wipe it off, scrape it off with the thing, and it doesn't do any damage to anything. I'm trying not to lean on my design too, but I'm sure my sleeves don't really roll up. So I'll do my best not to get on anything. Like I said, it's paint and we can always fix it. We can change it up, wipe it down, and redo it. So I don't really have to worry about staying in the line so much because I can make it. I don't mind if I go over it. Now this will be all outlined in black at the end after everything else is dried, of course. I try to keep the paint as smooth as it can be because I don't want to have globs on the edges or in the middle of it. And on some places I try to keep the strokes as long and as even as possible. Now if you watched last year what I did the Grinch's hand holding the ornament, and in the ornament part I did it as a wreath, and in the middle of the wreath was Max, you know, on it. So it was what I did last year. I'm already thinking for next year what I'm gonna do. So it's gonna be kind of crazy. I'm sorry for the lawnmower. My husband decided he wanted to mow the lawn. And I have the front door open only because so I can get more light so you can see it better, since I am in the hallway and it doesn't light up as much. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry a little bit. What I like to do if I'm not using my paint, I will try to dip it back into the ball, into the container, because I don't want it to dry out. Here's my lid. Okay, baby wipe, rattle. I try to keep all the different colors off my hands so I'm not bringing it into anything else. So now I'm going to work on his head. I chose, his ears are actually dark brown and his head is like a light brown. So I chose these two colors. This is going to be his head, and this is going to be Toffee, which is by Delta. And this one is Nutmeg, which is by Apple Barrel. Now they kind of changed the names around, so you can use whatever colors you want it to be. That is up to you. His eyes are going to be white. And I think I got them pretty good in size. I always hate, eyes always drive me crazy when you're doing loops, so to speak, because sometimes I can never get them to be exact. Like that one was not exact. That's a little bit better. It was too fat. So let me do the eyes actually. Work from inside out. This is just white. This is Folk Art White. You can use any brand. There's no specific brand that I choose over another. I try to use my paints that I have before going out to buy another color. Get them on the bottom. Okay, so his eyes. I'm going to take a smaller one. This is another angle brush. It's just a smaller version of the other one. It's not as long as the bristles. If you feel your paint is too thick, you can take a little water and thin it out. It is up to you. And by resting my wrist on here, it helps me to keep it nice and even, not all jiggly, especially when you're trying to make these turns. So use your body, your arm, your wrist to help. Right. Now, even in the picture, his eyes aren't quite the same height a little bit. They're a little bit off on, you know, which one's higher or lower, depending on the angle of the face. So keep that in mind. I could come a little bit further down on this one. And you'll see me standing back, looking from a different angle and stuff like that, because it's hard when you're up close, especially on a mirror, because I get a reflection coming in from the side. It's almost like I see the back of it. So I have to step back every now and then on it. All right. Now we're going to move on to our brown. And this is going to be the body part. Or the head part, I should say. Again, I can use a wider brush, but I want to use a smaller brush just to make it a little bit easier for me. And hold that thought, because now that I look at my picture, this is the outside of his head. So when his eyebrow, so to speak, comes in, and it kind of meets here, it's all jiggity-daggedy here. And the same on this side, his cheek comes in, being rounded like that. And I'll bring his eyebrow down from here. Kind of like that. Glad I noticed that. All right, so let's get to painting. The jiggity part of his hair coming out, I'm not so worried about right this second. I'm just going to get the basic outline of everything. And then I can come back in and put a little bit more detail into things. Like I've already put in his muzzle like here, but that was only just to give me a guideline when I was drawing this out. Again, like I said, we're going to have to come back in with a couple of coats on this. And the reason why I start with the lighter colors is because it's easier to paint over a lighter color than it is to paint over a darker color. So that's why I always try to start with the lighter colors. And I try to work from the inside out. I got some white paint on that. That's okay, we'll just paint over that. Almost got kind of a base coat on here. Oops. I hear a squeaky dog outside. Okay. So that's that part. So it looks funny here, but like I said, we're gonna go over it and put all the details in. This is his the rest of his neck. And his neck is actually just a little bit wavy. It's like dips down and comes up a little bit. Just kind of feathers off there. Okay, so he's starting to come to life. Where did I put my brown paint? So you're probably asking, why did I choose this year? Why didn't I do a Grinch face? I didn't do a Grinch face because I didn't want to walk down the stairs and have this big Grinch face in my face. I think that would scare the jujubes out of me. But my design for next year may have a Grinch face in it. I don't know. You'll have to wait till next year. All right, so let's do his ears. And the ears are going to be done in the Nutmeg Brown, which is by Apple Barrel. But again, choose whatever colors you want. I wanted a contrasting color, needless to say. My dogs are whining because my husband's out mowing the lawn and they want to go outside. I'm like, oh. That's my little one, puppy. Well, she's not a puppy, she turned a year. She's the one whining at the most. And again, we're going to feather out these. Doesn't look contrasting yet. So, see, I'm like, I'm trying to reach over to it. And this may take a couple of layers of paint. I just don't want it globby. Come to life. The detail sometimes is all when you do your shading, your outlining, and that really makes it where it starts standing out. keep that in mind. You can paint it just flat like this and do it. But if you don't put the details into it, then it's just gonna look flat. It's not gonna really amount to anything. Now this does show like a red, as if it's a red bow. So I can add that in, you know, a little bit later. Because it's so tiny, I could just do a stroke with the brush. Oops, wrong paint color almost. You're fine. Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're not gonna die. You went on your walk already. So he's coming to life. Slowly but surely. And by also putting the paint back in here, since I'm not using it so readily right away all the time, it saves it from drying up. Okay, so I have two reds here. Because the background's going to be red in general, I'm going to use that with the red, a bright red, fire ranger red, whatever color you want it to be. So for his bow and his collar, I'm going to do with the whole T-O-M-P-T-E red. It's a little bit darker, just to give it some sort of a contrast between the two, you know, reds on it. Now again, he had like a knot in black, and I did write that black in there, but I'm still debating how I'm going to do that. But we're going to do the collar. Ooh, that came shooting out. Wow. Okay. That mixed well. That came out like liquid. Good God. I want to make sure your paint's not that watery. Okay. Look at, it's too watery. Wow. That's why we have baby wipes. So that paint is not going to work. Wow. Who knew that that was like that? I don't know if the paint is just stuck on the bottom. So let's just give it a good shake in there. What I'm going to try is this. Try using the lid. Well, we may have to change paint colors, because this is almost like working on stained glass. Not worried what drooped down there, because I can repaint that with the brown. Just let me get a base on this of some sort so you can see. All right. And we'll just take a little bit of that brown. can cover right over it.